Hello, everyone. This is the 1906 diary series, and we are up to June 3rd. Dmitri talks about the hot weather. Meanwhile, here on the second day of September, it's already quite cool, unfortunately. But c'est la vie. Okay, so let us dive in. It is a Saturday at Ilinskaya, the estate in the countryside near Moscow. It is the 3rd of June. The year is 1906. I got up at 6:30 and went riding at 7 o'clock. Tyotia left for Moscow at 8:30. I went to do some work on the carpet, then played with Borya, then worked on the lathe. In the afternoon, I harnessed the goats, only in a pristyazhka, and they went great, very well. Then I went fishing again, and at 5 o'clock Tyotia arrived. She didn't scold me for not saying goodbye. And after tea, I went fishing and caught 6. Nashkovsky caught 12, Sasha nothing, and GM wasn't there because he stayed with Maria Nikolaevna. She's sick. She had a very bad reaction to her smallpox vaccination. She, GM, and Borya were all vaccinated for a second time. After dinner, we ran around the terrace like crazy and then took turns drawing and writing some things. And it was really funny. It was frightfully hot today and was 19 degrees in the water. I'll go swimming soon. Tomorrow, we're getting smallpox vaccinations, which is really a bore. Fool that I am, I have fallen in love with Alesia. All right, so Tyotia, in case this is the first of the videos you're watching, Tyotia was Aunt Ella, Grand Duchess Elizabeth Fyodorovna. Okay, so she's gone off to Moscow in the morning. Dmitri, again, is leading a very active life at Ilinskaya, and he's really taken to this work with the soldiers, working on the carpet. And I think he was doing it with the soldiers instead of doing it independently in his own rooms, because he says, I went to do some work on the carpet, and he's using the singular for carpet, so it must have been a big carpet, and yeah, they must have been something that he was doing with the soldiers. Well, I suppose he could be talking about an individual carpet, and they were all working on one, but in the same workshop, I think. And then he's playing with his little friend Borya, and then working on his lathe. And then there are these goats. So I don't know what's going on with these goats. And in fact, the word he uses, pristyazhka, I know is some part of how the goats would have been attached to the cart. And apparently it's something different from what he was doing before. And even looking it up online and looking at photographs of it, I couldn't figure out exactly what it was. So if anybody, any of you know, you can let me know. The goats had done poorly the day before, but this time they did very well. They did great. And it makes me think about his future role when he would be a horse trainer for the Horse Guards Regiment, and maybe he was, maybe that's what he was doing with the goats. Maybe he was teaching them to be in harness and to pull a cart. I would not have thought about that. I've heard of dog carts. I've never heard of a goat cart. But yeah, why not? I'm sure it was good practice for him, although I'm sure also that goats and horses have a very different mentality. So then he goes fishing, and when Tyotia comes back, when Aunt Ella comes back, he's relieved that she didn't scold him for not saying goodbye. And you probably remember, if you watched the previous video, that I was confused by him saying that he thought he was going to be in trouble the next day because he hadn't had a chance to say goodbye to Ella. But Ella was around. So why did he have to say goodbye to her? She'd gone to Moscow that day and come back, and now she's leaving at 8:30. And what the heck does he mean? I don't know, but he expected to be scolded and he wasn't. All right. After dinner, we ran around the terrace like crazy and took turns drawing and writing some things, and it was really funny. Okay, his lively sense of humor. So this is the first thing that he's really been enthusiastic about doing since he's gotten to Ilinskaya, except for the fishing. And I guess it involved these two girls who are still a mystery. He didn't refer to them in the last diary, and he has not talked about them doing any of the other activities, the writing, the fishing, the weaving. He's only given us their first names. So Aliesia, who's the older one, and Sofichka or Fofichka, who's the younger one. Dmitri doesn't like the younger one. He likes the older one, and now, in fact, he has fallen in love with her, though he calls himself a fool. And so he has a crush on her. He knows perfectly well that he's not really in love with her. That's just his way of saying that he has a crush on her. Fool that I am, as he says. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't know who she was, but or who they were, the two sisters. But yeah, so the kids running around on the terrace having a great time doesn't seem like the sort of thing Aunt Ella would ordinarily tolerate, but maybe she'd gone back into the house or something. And GM is out of the picture, Laming, and his wife. So he doesn't usually use their whole names when he's writing his diary. I think he called them by their full names, Maria Nikolaevna and Gory Mihailovich, because it would have been considered very disrespectful on his part not to have addressed them that way. But usually he abbreviates their names, as you know, in the diaries. This time he hasn't. And she has had a very bad reaction to her second smallpox vaccination. Apparently, Laming himself and their son, Borya, both did fine with it. But she had a bad reaction, so she was sick, and her husband stayed home with her, which was nice. And why were they vaccinated twice? I have no idea if that was standard for the smallpox vaccination or not. I haven't actually looked it up. And I also don't know whether smallpox was, even in 1906, still a concern in Russia, or if it was specifically a concern in the countryside around Moscow. That would be an interesting thing to look up. So I may end up doing that. So Dmitri and Maria are going to get their vaccinations the next day, and he's not looking forward to that. But I should have specifically looked before I did this video at the next diary entry, because I don't know, but I don't remember him saying, I've read through the June entries, and I don't remember him saying that he had a bad reaction to it. So yeah, that's about it for this diary entry. I was talking to my friend Larry today about good old Dmitri, since we're working on a real video about him with photos and music and narration, and we were talking about the kind of person that Dmitri was. And, you know, I think, having read a lot of Grand Ducal letters and diaries and memoirs and various things, I think he had more of an ability to relate to ordinary people than a lot of them did. And I think maybe I would give Ella a lot of credit for that, because even though he was shy and uncomfortable around the people in the hospitals and the lazarettes, she made sure that he was exposed to that. And, he even had apparently gotten over his shyness and was working with these soldiers on a daily basis doing the weaving. And so, that would make a difference. That would make a difference. He wasn't only around aristocratic children, and in fact, he wasn't even often around aristocratic children and his cousins. So, that is it for the 3rd of June. And come back tomorrow and we'll both be surprised about what the next diary entry holds. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.